Welcome back to Cryptolytics, giving you a fresh take on crypto analytics. Today I'm going to talk about Solana, the latest DeFi updates and general news updates. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Let's get into it. So here we are with the Solana news. So this is the latest developments with Solana and the latest DeFi protocol news. So a lot has been happening, as I'm sure most of you are aware, but I thought I would give my take on a few things that have gone down recently. So first thing first, I guess the Macalinao brothers are a dev super duo, and this is a positive spin on something that probably could be conceived as maybe negative. This is the list of protocols that they were involved with. I mean, yes, it's deceptive, but come on, like, credit where it's due. Seriously, this is really impressive. At the peak of my DeFi in the Solana ecosystem, I was using many of these. Well, at the very least, I have interacted with and used quite heavily Saber, Sunny, I used Cashio, I used Quarry quite a bit. I didn't participate in the Tribeca DAO curve Wars Solana equivalent, which was the Saber Wars essentially. So it was really quite funny that the Saber Wars was all from one team. Imagine just like a war with, like, you know, protocols, it's all the one person. It's like, how does that kind of work? Anyway, aSOL, I used that a little bit. So I used that in Saber as part of a stable coin to SOL LP pair. And it's a staked SOL, but I'll go into it in a sec. And I used Sencha a little bit for Cashio, and something else I can't remember because I didn't use it for that long. But again, it's just another DEX essentially. So yeah, I mean, I'll just, I guess, quickly list these. So Saber was an AMM platform for stablecoins, so that's like your curve on Solana. So here's Saber basically, and you've just got all of these pools, and you'll see they're all stable pools. So they are pools for two like assets or two stable assets, so stable coins or various staked Solana pairs and things like this. You know, this was just a standard thing that you would come to if you were a Solana DeFi degen like myself. You know, maybe you would go into Solend, borrow against your Bitcoin, grab that USDC, come swap it in here for a couple of different things that you like. That are generating a lot of yield essentially, because when you go to farms you can see all this APY here. Now at certain stages this has been pretty amazing. There's actually some pretty good yield still. 42%, that's not bad. I mean, I'm not doing any of this at the moment. 18% in USDC, that's pretty good. So Saber's a sort of place where, in my opinion, you come and you basically put stable assets in. There's always a bit of slippage though, which kind of sucked a little bit, but you know, you come in here, you basically create your LP pair, so you would connect your wallet essentially, pick your two stable assets, or just find something you want to deposit into. You can just do single-sided, for example, and it'll swap the other side, which is pretty cool. So, you know, you just say you've just got USDC, you just click on the USDC and it will go half into the UXD, for example. And then basically that's it. It creates the farm token, and then basically you go into the farms and you deposit that into here, or you can use Quarry, which I'll show in a minute, which I ended up using in the end. And yeah, basically this would be a daily thing where you just come here, claim your Saber tokens, and then either sell them into something you want. In my case, I was using it to accrue more SOL. And then there was the Sunny Aggregator, that was the next on the list there. And basically Sunny Aggregator is the same deal, except you can deposit your LP token from Saber into Sunny. And so you earn Saber tokens, not the full amount that you would if it was just in Saber, but some Saber tokens, and also Sunny tokens too. So again, these hyperinflationary tokens that are just destined to go to zero because they are just simply farm and dump tokens. Wow, I sound like a bit of a pessimist, don't I? This is just how you meant to treat these, right? You don't hold on to these like... Well, that was the thing, actually. That's what came later. People were holding on to them because they wanted to participate in the Tribeca DAO, which again was a DAO that was going to be the equivalent of Curve. So basically, you would have all of these competing protocols trying to accumulate the Saber token in order to get enough to have voting power in the DAO, so they could give more token emissions or rewards, if you will, to their protocol or to their LP token or liquidity pool. So you have these two protocols who are from the same person, essentially just stacking liquidity from one to the other. This is what they were talking about if you read articles online about basically these protocols just stacking liquidity and doubling up. It doesn't really double up necessarily. You could probably say it does, but I'll show you later that it didn't make that much of a difference in the end, I suppose, because as the narrative fell off, I think a lot of people just started pulling out from these protocols. Although 16 million is pretty impressive, admittedly. Next one on the list was Quarry. Now Quarry was just one-stop shop again for the DeFi degen out there. So basically what we had was Saber protocol, Marinade. So Marinade, like, you have all these quarries essentially, and all you do is you connect to here, and it basically is your one place that you could come to. And it was a bit clunky. I had some issues with it, especially with doing some of the lunar rewards stuff. Shows you how long I've been using it for. Well, how long I was using it ago, I suppose. Almost feels like another lifetime ago. That's crypto for you. So basically, you could come here and create your LPs within here, or at least you just basically could deposit your funds in there, and it would just kind of automatically on the back end do what it needed to do to create the LP token, which was pretty cool. Or if you couldn't do it in here, then you would just go to the protocol, create the LP token, come in here, and then deposit it into the vault. And handle this like Minecraft sounds. It's not going to do it, is it? Okay, yes, it's making the sounds, but I actually have my speakers muted. So yeah, you can hear that stuff, but I can't. Yeah, it was making little like jingling sounds and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, so I find this kind of strange. I don't know how this still has TVL in it. $200,000. This is Soluna. This is the anchor protocol on Solana, and there's still $200,000 locked up in this pool. What on earth? I mean, yeah, a lot of people seem to have bailed from this, but there's $200,000 in the Solana anchor. I guess it's people like me who, you know, didn't pull their money out of anchor in time. I don't think anyone will see that again. But anyway, so yeah, Sencha used to be in here as well. I don't know where it's gone. Actually, there's quite a few extra that were in here, and I don't know where they're gone. Find it funny that Sencha was in here, and then guess what was on the list next? Sencha. Sencha was another swap platform, or AMM, essentially. A lot of it was to do with the Cashio, which is this, which was the stable coin, which unfortunately, and it doesn't say here anywhere on the website, but these guys got hacked. Or I should say, I guess it was all the same person in the end, but Cashio got hacked and everything kind of went to zero, basically. Cashio printer went burr, and then I guess anyone who used the Cashio printer was left out in the cold. Brr. I don't know, it sounds like a noise you would make if you were cold. So unfortunately, that happened, and you can find a bit more information on that online, but basically anyone who had money in this protocol lost it all, basically, because as you can see, there was a infinite mint glitch. So I guess, you know, if you're trying to make too many protocols, then perhaps this could be the thing that could go wrong, I suppose. Spread yourself too thin. But yes, there was the $52 million US Cashio exploit, the second largest exploit on Solana. Not anymore. Well, I'm sure that there's probably more to come. But anyway, that was the second largest in April the 4th. So yeah, maybe it's like the 3rd or 4th or 5th now. I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but you know, this stuff happens. So yes, Cashio was a stable coin, I guess you could say, where you basically just print it by supplying a LP token. So as I mentioned before, you can make LP tokens in Saber, and then you can collateralize it, and then you can deploy that into DeFi. Seems kind of pointless, but you know, you get yield on this sort of stuff, and they were working on just you wait, they were working on, I guess, like a anchor protocol sort of thing. But yeah, also there was just other things within DeFi which, you know, probably would have been cool. And I do remember I was farming cash and USDC at one stage in Saber. So, you know, I was there, but this was at a time where it was quite a bit of yield and I was just in and out sort of deal. As soon as the yield got crushed, I pulled my money out of it. So the next thing they did was they made a multi-sig wallet, which is kind of cool actually. Can't throw shade for that because that's something that we don't really have. Well, there might be one that I'm just not familiar with, but this one's called Goki, which is a multi-sig wallet for the Solana ecosystem. And if you're not familiar with what a multi-sig wallet is, it's basically in order for every transaction to go through, it requires 2 signatures to sign. So for example, the most recent, and yes, I'm going to bring it up, Slope wallet hack, which was actually a seed phrase thing, but still, this sort of thing is less likely to occur if you have a multi-sig wallet, but I guess it's a bit different because these guys straight up stored seed phrases on a centralized server in plain text. So, you know, that's, you know, that's so silly. But anyway, I'm sure everyone knows about this by now, so not really going to beat a dead horse, even though this is a news segment that I'm doing. It almost seems like it would be an absolute necessity to cover this. But yes, it was just as simple as basically if you used Slope at any stage where you interacted with their protocol with your Phantom wallet, then they stored your private keys. And I don't know how they would have done that. I think as long as you removed any permissions from them in your Phantom address, like if you went and you revoked the permissions for Slope, that would have been fine. But if you'd ever restored or used Slope, restored your seed phrase into Slope, even if it was Phantom, then you would be compromised essentially. Now, I guess in this case, even if you had 2 seed phrases and 2 keys, well, they would have both of them anyway. So if they did a multi-sig, then it completely defeats the purpose. So anyway, just so you can see, this is kind of what a multi-sig wallet would do, where you need basically this 2 people to sign a transaction in order for it to go through. So this dude signed it, this person signed it too, Craig. I mean, who are these people? Like, where's Bob and Alice? Anyway, so that's kind of just a general overview of what it looks like. You have to sign 2 people. 2 people have to sign a transaction, 2 of 3, in order for the transaction to go through. I'm not going to go into cryptography and how all that stuff works, because that's a course in of itself, but I guess hopefully you get the general idea. They also did a multi-sig wallet. I don't know how many people actually ended up using it, but there it is. Here is aSOL I was talking about before, which is just basically a liquid staked Solana token akin to mSOL or STSOL, which are the liquid staked SOL tokens with the highest TVL currently. Most of mine is in mSOL, but nothing wrong with it. STSOL by Lido as well. But yes, it's pretty funny. They're just like, yeah, give us your mSOL or give us your Lido Sol and we'll give you aSOL. And then you can go to Saber and then farm it for more Saber tokens. It's like, I don't want to give you my precious Lido Sol or Marinade Stake Sol. But I did use this briefly at one period of time. And it was a Sol pair. So it was Sol to aSOL or Sol. I'm pretty sure it was aSOL to Sol. Because I wouldn't do a pool that would give me impermanent loss, generally speaking. I don't like impermanent loss. So I would just farm away with these stable assets and then farm and dump the Saber tokens into more Sol or mSOL or whatever it is I wanted to buy at the time. So yeah, that's something that they are doing. They have $78,000. That's not really a lot in TVL, especially when you compare the others. And we'll have a look at the TVL so far, because when you read a lot of articles, they say things like, all these protocols made up for 75% of Solana's TVL. Well, I'll show you that that is not the case. Let's go over the last couple of things that they did. So this is Crate Protocol. Currently, apparently has $78,000 worth of assets in it. Couldn't really figure out what this did, apart from a standardized token basket. So a basket, generally, when you think about a basket, is like on an exchange, you would have a basket of assets. Like the S&P 500, for example, is a basket. It's a basket of the top 500 companies in the US, or the Dow Joneses, or the tech sector essentially. So I don't really know what this basket entails, to be honest. But you know, August 13, 2021, and then nothing really after that. So probably don't have to worry too much about that. They had this Arrow protocol. So it says Arrow allows individuals, protocols, and DAOs on Solana to launch staking derivatives which redirect yield to a different address. So from what I could see, this is basically you can select a Sunny pool, for example, and then you put in someone else's wallet address, and then you connect it, and then your yield goes to them. It's kind of cool, but I don't know why anyone would do this, but okay. Maybe if you had like, maybe if this was more mainstream, you could have it so it was going to, say you had, I don't know, $500,000 and you were just like, I'm going to donate the yield to charity or something, but I don't think charities know how to work DeFi, at least not on this level. So I don't really know what you would want to do. Maybe you're farming for someone that lives overseas or a mate or something. I really don't know what you would use this for, but hey, it's just another protocol they did. And the last one was Venko, which I believe is like kind of like Solana Pay. So Venko was, or I say was, but is, but I guess I don't think it's really been worked on recently, because the last time that was worked on was in January 16. So I think the project was kind of abandoned. And that's probably what happens when you start 50 projects. You probably can't finish them all. But again, it's pretty impressive, you know. So basically it is a Solana Pay sort of deal where it's grants, token lockups, and escrow. Kind of cool, an escrow service. It's kind of helpful. But yes, again, it's something I'm guessing would have been aimed towards using for regular payments or like an escrow service or something along these lines. But yes, again, January 16, they probably gave up the ghost a little bit, especially after the Cashio hack. I think that's probably where things probably fell off a bit, but admittedly I haven't seen much in the way of development from these guys for quite a while. So they put all the hard work in at the start and they were just like, all right, let's just let it ride. And yeah, I guess it is what it is. So I just put this together briefly because if you have a look at articles like this or like all the other articles that exist out there, they'll be basically talking about the 75% TVL on Solana, and that may have been the case at once upon a time, but as you can see here, that is not at all the case. It's probably more like between 13 and 15%. I didn't put everything in here because I basically went to DeFi Llama and grabbed pretty much everything up to around here because I thought Zeta would be important because it's options and that's quite well used. Katana, but yeah, I kind of stopped after a bit. But it's a who's who, right? It's a who's who. It's all my favorites. So Marinade, love Marinade. Solend, love Solend. Use that, have a lot there. Serum, I don't really use the Serum decks that much unless it goes through Jupiter Aggregator. I don't know if they're always the best path, but they happen. That comes up sometimes. Radium, again, same deal. Atrix, again, same deal. Use them only when they come up as a path through Jupiter. Tulip, I have some assets in Tulip, earning yield. Quarry, there's the first one. 130 million TVL. That's the first one in the pack, essentially. Now, where is that? That's this slither right here. Wow, you've got all of this now. And this little slither here is competing with that. Okay, let's keep going down the list. Lido, that's your liquid staked Solana. Mango Markets, my favorite decentralized perpetuals exchange. I currently have a long in Sol. How's that going? Not bad. Sunny, here's the next one. 115 million. So where's that in the grand scheme? Right there. So it's taking up a decent chunk. And then Orca, again, used when going through Jupiter. Saber. Alright, yes, Saber. There it is in the list there. You can see right there. Funnily enough, Saber has less TVL than Sunny. People were really going for this Curve Wars narrative. 115 versus 81 million. Well, that's pretty impressive. But again, it was the same person, right? So that's just funny. I think that's kind of funny. But hey, it's like, it's all still there. People were still earning yield. It's not really a scam. People may be talking about it like it's a scam. I don't see how it's a scam. You still were earning yield. You can still pull that yield out, turn that into assets. You're just getting free money, essentially. Even though super inflationary tokens, and maybe some people held on to it because they believed in the narrative. So I guess in that case, sorry, but if you're like me and you farm and dump, then hey, this stuff is kind of just funny, I guess. Francium, I use that often. I have a lot of Ethereum in Francium at the moment. Unfortunately, the yields for ETH on Sol are pretty crushed at the moment, but yeah, it's still not too bad. They still are better a lot of the time than Tulip. So anyway, JPool, that's another liquid stake Sol. Larix, blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. I mean, these are great protocols, but I'm not going to go through what they all are, because otherwise I'll be here all day. So anyway, that's pretty much it. So as you can see here, you know, if you add these up, here is the total in dollar terms. So here it is there, the $326 million, which is very similar. Wow, it's almost on par with Marinade. I mean, it's really impressive they've commanded that much TVL. I would say it's probably a little bit more than this, because there's a few that I didn't add that were way down in the list, essentially, but you get the idea. So basically it's like this, like here, essentially. Another one of these. But I wouldn't call that 75%. I mean, come on. It's impressive, but it's not 75%. Because if you have a look here, which is where I got the data from, here is the TVL. There's just so many protocols on the Solana ecosystem. Cashio, I'm so surprised there's still $58,000 on here. aSOL, 77,000. Arrow, 79,000. These are the ones down here, essentially, that I mentioned before, and as you can see, the TVL is very, very little, so that wouldn't really add that much to something in the hundreds of millions, so that's why I didn't really bother digging that deep. So anyway, and I guess lastly, just to wrap things up, I'll just quickly cover the SOL price and what I'm looking at the moment, which I probably could have done at the start of the video, but I'm doing it now, so I think that this video is probably more of a fundamental analysis video, and I guess an afterthought with regards to the technical trades. But it's basically the last few trades that I've taken on Sol have been pretty cool. So when I first discovered this strategy, I was doing this in small intervals where I would ride this up and then wait for a retracement and then basically go down onto the 1 hour and excuse the messy chart and basically wait for small breakouts of structure and then take profit at a 1-to-2 risk reward ratio, or this was a 3-to-3. Why did I close there? Oh, there was a horizontal support and resistance level, but I do remove them because this is pretty messy as it is. But anyway, when I first discovered this strategy, I was doing little hops like this, and then I realized I could just hold on for longer periods of time. So what it is, and I've showed this on my charts before, better zoom in because this chart is very messy. Basically, it's the BB buy, sell, and swap. And let me just bring up that. If I just type in BB, it's the Guikroth one, which again I've mentioned many times. And basically, it uses Bollinger Bands in order to print buys and sells on the chart. I use the 2 hour because it smooths the things out a fair bit, and I use the 1 hour to like get me ready. So the 1 hour is like, hey, get ready. We might be looking at a trade coming up. And what I do is I'll set these up and send them down to where I think price will go. So let's just have a quick look here on the 2 hour. And I recommend just having a look at this yourself and having a look to see if it works into your strategy, because this is a long-term swing trading strategy basically. So what I was doing is I was waiting for the signal to trigger, waiting for a pullback, and then going down to the smaller time frame and waiting for something to some sort of confluence or some sort of entry signal. So in this case, let's have a look. I didn't find a entry signal here, so I waited for the 2 hour and I got in this short at this engulfing candle. This is the indicator that shows you this. It's called the TMO overlay. It shows you 3 line strikes and engulfing candles, which are very high momentum candles, especially on a 1 hour, because they are immersing the previous candle, and in this case the last 2 candles were completely immersed by this candle. That's an incredibly bearish candle. I also broke this little trend line as well, which I drew in. So that was my entry right there. Stop loss I had to the top of the range, or in this case just to the top of this candle, and I rode it down to this trend line. I didn't actually leave it go the whole way. So this is a very long-term trend line. I've got two of them in here. Very long-term trend line that goes all the way back. I pulled it a little bit early because I started to see bullish divergences forming down the bottom, and so I just pulled the pin. I also took a little bit of profit at the 200 period moving average. So that's the 200 2-hour. That's this red line in the middle here, because often you find that things tend to bounce around there. So yeah, I took the profit around, some profit around there, and just waited for down there, and I just pulled the pin on it essentially. And then the next one was a breakout of this trend line. So I had two trend lines in here. Essentially, I was just like, wait for the first one to break, second one to break. Okay, when's the signal? I saw the signal came in to long on the 1 hour down here. And I was like, okay, I'll wait for the second one because often there's fake outs. But I also will just get in probably after this breakout, essentially here of this trend line. And surely enough, on the 2 hour, there it went. And so basically, as soon as I saw this buy signal, I put my buy order on this trend line, this diagonal trend line here, and it didn't hit here. And so basically, I just put it at the bottom of this candle, and then yeah, just obviously just triggered. Put my stop loss at the average true range. So just quickly, the average true range at the time was right here, and that's on the 1 hour average true range. And you can find that here. I just use average true range for stop losses. I don't use it to trade necessarily, but it's this one here by Sylvian Vervoort. I don't know, it sounds pretty Dutch to me, whatever that is. But anyway, so that was my entry there, and my take profit was at this horizontal support and resistance line, which, as you can see, it went past there by a little bit and created the next top there, which I've now drawn a line there that wasn't there at the time, essentially. And my first take profit was at this horizontal support and resistance line. And so basically I took some profit there, quite a bit, because I wasn't sure how high it would go, and then took the rest off there. And I did have a little bit left. I think I had like 10% of the trade left here. And then I saw this bearish divergence from here to here, and it was about here, and I was looking at the chart because I was away. I think I was going for a bike ride, and when I got back I saw this and I pulled the pin on that especially, and then saw this 1 hour flip, and I was like, thankfully I got out of that. Okay, let's go, let's get ready for the next short. Went to the 2 hour. Finally that came in, and I saw there was a recent engulfing candle, so I just decided to open then and there, and then set my take profit to the 618, which is a Fibonacci line. So that's measured from, again, sorry for how messy this chart is, but it is what it is. Measured from this bottom down here to this top here, so most recent data, basically. And surely enough, we went a little bit past it and then bounced off it. And then I waited for the next one. Sorry, there it is. There, and then I'm waiting for the next one, and now we are in it. I've posted on Twitter. Essentially, I went long on the 1 hour 3 line strike right here. I'm thankful I was still awake at the time. Sorry, I woke up early, and I saw it here around 6 o'clock. So it was just basically here, and I just managed to get in just in time, thankfully. Although I don't know if it's thankful, because literally we're pretty much in the same place. I don't know what I've done here. There we go, fixed it. And so for the stop loss, I used the 1 hour average true range, just a little bit below it. So, you know, we're looking at a 2% potential loss. And I'm aiming for the top of the range, but I'm not seeing a lot of strength here, to be honest, at the moment. Just across the market in general, there's a good potential we're going to shoot up further, but at the moment, so I've got some profit points in at some of these fibs. Definitely this horizontal support resistance, I've got to take profit in here. I got another one in here, and I'm going to close the trade up here, that's for sure. So as if it even gets up here, I'll be happy if it at least takes one of my profit points. If it keeps tracking sideways here, I'll probably look to take some profit off the table, maybe here, but that was already a resistance point. So if it's going to come back here, it'll probably move a bit further past it, or come not close enough and then down. So it's very rare you get this exact revisit and double top on the 1 hour or 2 hour time frame. So anyway, that's just kind of what I'm looking at the moment. waiting for another push up, and then to see if like we're going to get a divergence. Again, I use divergences a lot on the RSI because they are incredible. And then I'll be looking at the next trade. This is just my swing trading. I also have my day trading, which is in the 1 minute, 2 minute chart, but I won't show you that because that is noise. Alright, if you're still here, thanks for sticking around. Please remember to like the video, comment down below, check out some of my other videos to see some of my recent analysis. I've been doing some day trading strategy videos recently, the occasional market update videos, and also a few other little educational videos here or there. So if you like this, then maybe you'll like those too. So feel free to turn the notification bell on if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I am putting out. That's it for today. There's plenty more Solana FUD to come, I'm sure, but I think this is probably the biggest thing that I felt since I'm so connected to DeFi, and I haven't seen anyone cover this yet, so I figure, hey, why don't I do it? Anyway, take care, all the best. It's Cryptolytics signing out. Peace out, guys.